Welcome to Happy Hour with Haley. I am joined once again by
Jocelyn Neill.
the Wongstar. You're back 2 weeks in a row. This wasn't necessarily planned, but as part of this podcast, we are embracing unhinged, chaotic energy, and that's exactly what you're bringing today.
That's right. We even kind of came up with a mission statement.
Wait.
Chaotic. Do you remember?
Oh, yes, you texted this to me.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you we have our mission. What is it?
So the mission is chaotic conversations amongst friends, sometimes triathlon related, always unhinged.
I love it. And today we are embracing that mission to the max. We are both dressed in our most festive because this episode is airing just before the new year. And we had an opportunity that we had to jump on.
Yeah. Following our first episode, we had that burning question: why do retired pro triathletes make such good realtors? And we decided to reach out. I texted Mike Pigg, Triathlon Legend, because all good realtors have their contact information on their website. Did not expect him to get back to us right away.
He got back to us and was like, I'm available immediately. And we made this happen immediately.
We were both like, wait, what? Right now? Okay.
Yes. So, embracing the chaos, we gave ourselves about 15 minutes to get set up and record this interview. And I love it so much because it does embody our mission. I think it's an incredible story. And Jocelyn, I just love that you were up for this. Like we got this triathlon legend on the phone. We answered a burning question and we did it very quickly. And I appreciate your initiative too. You knew Mike from the past, and we will talk more about that in the interview, how you two knew each other. But it'd been 25 years since you had
Yeah.
chatted.
I hadn't seen him in 25 years when I was this 18-year-old brand spanking new triathlete. And yeah, it's still morning-ish here. So we didn't even have fun adult beverages for happy hour.
That's right, because this is Happy Hour with Haley. Do you have a beverage?
I have water. It's just
You have
water.
water. That's fair enough. I have an empty glass. My new Bennett Thrasher mug. It has nothing in it because I truly did not even have time to make a coffee, but I'll test it out later in a future episode. So this is, again, Happy Hour with Haley. It's chaotic. Sometimes we have well-planned beverages. Sometimes we're drinking water and air, but we embrace it all. So to give our listeners a little bit of a background on Mike Pigg and what a legend he is in the sport, Mike had a 17-year professional career, and he had some huge wins. Most notably, he won 1988 USTS Bud Light Triathlon Series race at Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. He held off Mark Allen in that race. He also finished second in the 1988 Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, second behind Scott Molina. He tells us about both of those races, which were some of the biggest professional finishes of his career. During his career, according to the North Coast Journal, he had like 200 races and he won more than 80 of them. So this guy was winning a lot of races. He won races like Alcatraz. He had big name sponsors like Oakley and Trek, and they allowed him to earn well into six figures as a professional triathlete. So Mike tells us about his career, about those glory days, what it was like training with some of those names that we still recognize in the sport today. And he tells about his transition from professional triathlete to realtor. And he does help us answer Jocelyn's question about why do professional triathletes make great realtors? We'll have that conversation with Mike up next.
Hey, so today we have the legendary Mike Pigg on Happy Hour with Haley. Mike is my friend from 25 years ago when I was just a brand new teenage triathlete. I had just gotten my road bike in February of 2000, did my first sprint triathlon maybe around June, and a month or two later, I had decided I wanted to do an Ironman. So I signed up for this local Ironman training camp, and I was that weirdo teenage triathlete getting to train with some pro triathletes and other amateurs. Mike Pigg, huge legend from the original era of 1980s triathletes, was one of the coaches there. So, welcome, Mike.
Oh, it's good to be here. You caught me on a good day.
I hadn't actually been in touch with you in the last quarter century, so this is a big catch up for all of us.
It is. Where was that picture taken at with my Phil's Bar T-shirt on?
It was the year 2000. I know you raced in the 80s. Can you tell us a little bit about your career and what it was like back then?
So I raced for 17 years, and I started this sport not knowing I was going to make a career out of it, but one thing led to another. Like you, I just wanted to do Ironman and say I did it. And one thing led to another, and I kept climbing the ladder. And before I know it, I was racing with all the legends that I was looking at the time, back in 1985. A great time to grow up in the sport because that's when pros and amateurs got to race together. And I really enjoyed that aspect. Made for bigger starting lines, a lot more splashing, jumping in, and avoiding feet in your face, and all kinds of stuff. Not knowing what college swimmer might not be a pro, but still out in front on a bike, and if you have to catch them or not sooner than later. So it was very good times back in the mid '80s.
How did you hear about the sport?
I was a cross country runner in high school, and my coach was getting into triathlons, and I was into swimming, so I had two of the three sports. I graduated in 1982. I started biking to a junior college with all my books on my back, and taking my calculus and English classes, and signing up for a lunch swim. And I biked to school, and I ran for cross country at the JC College of Redwoods. So it was just naturally I was going to do triathlon at some point in time.
Jocelyn mentioned going to that camp when she was 18 years old, and it sounds like you weren't much older when you did your first Ironman.
Let's see, first Ironman. What age? That's a good question. I think I was 21, actually. I went to New Zealand for my first Ironman, and I also did the world's toughest, which is in Lake Tahoe at 6,000 feet up to 9,000 feet. Scott Molina won that race that day, and I was like sixth. And all this was getting ready for Hawaii Ironman. Oh gosh, I'm thinking I was 21 when I did my first Ironman in Hawaii. But it's so far back now, it's hard to pull dates out and ages.
2 months back, and I can't pull them out. But Mike, I am really interested about the process of racing professionally. Was there a pro card, or was it just if you placed high enough, you were considered a professional?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, like I said, amateurs and pros started together, and you had a chance for the money. There was no pro card at the time. Yeah, signed up, and if you could run up the best, you could collect a check that day.
That's that's pretty amazing.
It was fun. I loved it.
First Kona was 1980.
Yeah, and I think I got 6th place that year.
Seventh place,
Yep.
21-ish years old. And I believe that was the last year that Kona did not have prize money. Can you talk about that transition? Do you remember it when Kona didn't have prize money and then 1986, I believe there was a prize purse?
It was 86 or 87, I think they got a prize purse, and the second year, I got into the prize money by getting 2nd in 1988.
Do you remember how much you won?
10 or 15,000, I think, for 2nd.
How did that feel?
Melina won that race. Oh, it was a dream come true to be in that position, to be running at the front for 8.5 hours. I loved it. I don't know. I got inspired by seeing Dave Scott on TV when he started Ironmans earlier, back when it was on Oahu, and then I got moved over to Kona. And I just liked how fit Dave Scott looked, and I was really inspired by the challenge of just throwing your body through a 2.4-mile swim, 112 bike, and the marathon in 80 to 90-degree weather, and being in Hawaii, a good excuse to be in Hawaii.
Wow. So by the time I met you in 2000, were you still racing as a pro then? When did you actually
I was either
retire?
just retired, um, and I was working for Phil's Bar trying to promote this energy bar as a possible business. And so I was still visiting some races and saying hi to people. I don't know if I raced that day or not. What race was that? You have the photo
So no, that was Ironman training camp you did with Tim Sheeper.
up in
in
s for
Menlo Park
Stanford?
Menlo Park
Yes.
area.
Yeah, okay.
Because I remember you brought don't you have twins?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tristan and Chloe. They're
they
28
were
now.
yeah,
They're
they
28.
were, like, toddlers then. Because I remember you bringing them on the last day.
Cool.
Mike, how was sponsorship during the 80s and into the 90s? You were able to have a pretty long career. 17 years is incredibly long. Were you working for sponsors? Were you working another job during that time, or were you full-time pro?
Once I committed to be full-time pro, I just relied on sponsors. It started out really minimal. We just got product and then got a little bit higher the next year. And then I raced a little better and got higher the next year. And then after a while, I got a professional manager because I just like focusing on swimming, biking, running, eating, and sleeping, and didn't want to be on the horn begging for dollars to race. So I had two different money managers getting a sponsorship, and they helped me climb up there to where I got into six figures for a couple years. Is mostly coming from, the sponsorship itself, like from Pioneer stereos, Oakley sunglasses, Trek bicycles, Saucony shoes. One thing cool about triathlon, you could hit a lot of different avenues because 'cause you're doing so many sports, and, they were very excited about the sport because it was growing at great momentum, and they got great TV in the beginning. So you saw a lot of races throughout the, US, USTS, United States Triathlon Series and then Ironman, and then other races like the Virgin Islands, St. Croix. Everyone was getting TV at the time, and it was a good time to get sponsorship.
Were you recognized around your local community? Did people know you from being on TV for these races?
Yeah, well, I lived in a small town, so as far as locally, the word spreads fast, and you're training with three different groups: you train swimmers, you train bikers, you train runners. So it gets out there. We had a university, Humboldt State University out here, so I was running with them, swimming with their swim team, swimming on my own. So locally, you got recognized, you got a lot of notoriety here. And then wherever I hang out was going to races, so you're hanging out with the people that are watching. And then you had Triathlete magazine, did a great job in circulation and that. And then things moved up to even Sports Illustrated was picking up some of the stories. Um, I wouldn't say you're a famous basketball, or football player, or tennis player, but in the triathlon world, you're a rock star, which made it fun. I really enjoyed that aspect too. I like when people come up and say hi to you, and I like talking shop because you always learn when you talk in shop from a beginner to a pro, and so I always enjoy the conversations out there.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciated being like a newbie triathlete. I feel like we all have those interactions with pro triathletes, like when I was an amateur looking up to these heroes, and then you could tell right away there were some pros that didn't give you the time of day, but you always remembered the ones that were kind to you. And you were one of them, Mike.
Thanks. I'm glad I made the cut.
Can you talk about the atmosphere among the pros? Because you were racing each other quite frequently. And, you does sounds like you weren't necessarily training with your direct competitors day in, day out, but I'm assuming you saw them quite frequently. Were you good friends?
I always call it the traveling circus. You show up to the Virgin Islands and you get, 30 women pros and 30 men pros, and you see them on the course or eating dinner with them. Only time it really goes quiet on race day when you put on your blinders and do what you want to do. But for the most part, I really love the triathletes and most athletes because they're all very helpful and willing to give you a spare tire if you need that prior to race if you flat, or a tool if you need that, or a pump. Share out who your favorite masseuse is. So a very sharing group, and a lot of us became friends. A lot of us ended up in either San Diego or Boulder, Colorado, and we used each other to motivate each other. I mean, it gets hard when you start to put in 22 to 25-hour weeks, and so it's nice to do a 6-hour bike ride with 5 to 7 of the best triathletes in the world. And then we reeled in pro cyclists out there. So we got to know that community. And that was real exciting because it's fun to watch them on TV. Even though you're a pro, you still enjoy being with other pros and
Mhm.
hanging out with them. And there was a lot of beautiful runners in Colorado. So for the summers, we got to hang out, train with Mark Allens and Scott Molina and Kenny Souza and Paulie Newby Frazier. You don't know who you're going to train with on a given day. Just whatever. If you're the moon and the stars lined up for a 100-mile bike ride or an 8-mile run, you'd be running someone different.
So you were training with your competitors. What was that like? Were people just going all out in training?
Oh, it was always grudge matches out there. Uh, and again, I love the grudge matches because it motivates you and you don't think about the pain so much. Just you motivating yourself. You focus on, hey, here's my competitor. Let's see what we can do and find out who can make each other stronger and who burns out and who goes home early or just have an epic day together.
And did that carry over to races? Did you ever have a race that you can remember where you were neck and neck with someone you've trained with and you're like, I know how to break this guy?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes your training doesn't always lead up to good races. You know, you
Mhm.
have to also be mentally ready to get tracing. So some guy that you could really hurt in train days might shine on race day, or vice versa. They can crush you on training and not do so good on racing. So it's always who's feeling the best that day. Kind of knew certain scenarios that would show up on a race day, what to expect and what you have to do. You know, some people, well, you need to pace yourself through the bike ride so you can get to the run. Well, that wasn't the case for me. I got out of the swim and I'd be going 100% early into the race, at least as far as anaerobic, you could do, just so I could put in a minute and a half on everyone, break them so they're not keying off of me, get out of sight, and then see how
Yeah.
much time I could put on so I could jump off my bike and run scared. And that was kind of my strategy for the 2-hour races and even up to 4-hour races. Ironman, though, you had to watch your heart watch when I learned out how to use a heart watch
Mhm.
and regulate your aerobic capacity so you would have a run left and finish that marathon in 3 hours or 2 hours and 58 minutes. Not that I ever did hit 250, but so yeah, you learn a lot about competitors, but you never know what they brought that day. And on any given day, a person you think you could beat could take you, or a person you didn't know if you could beat them. Like in 1980, 88 at Hilton Head National Championships. It was so exciting to be in front of Mark Allen for the first time and have him. But he was here. I thought I had the race won with a half mile to go. And I looked back on a turn coming off a golf course, and there was Mark Allen like 20 seconds behind me.
Ooh.
And that guy can run. So it was probably the hardest half mile of my entire life in Olympic distance.
Did you stay
And
ahead
you
And
of
held him
him?
off.
I held him off. And if you ever go
Yeah.
back to watch 1988, you could see me grunt like a pig for the last 200 yards of the race, literally.
And then you beat him again in Hawaii.
No, well, he had a rough day. He had flat tires, so I don't call it a true kill in Hawaii. I think Mark Allen was the king of Ironman to have 6 under your belt. And Ironman's such a long race. So many things can go right or wrong out there. And the day that I beat him is the day that he got 1 or 2 flat tires, and it really just kills up your momentum. I mean, he had the strength and fitness where he could get 2 flat tires and still beat me in Ironman, but
Wow.
sometimes it just breaks your rhythm and gets you out of your aerobic sync, and so I was able to stay in front of him.
Do you have a most memorable race, a race that just really, really sticks in your memory?
The one I talked about, Hilton Head of Mark Allen, would probably
Mhm.
be one of the biggest things, and then being second Ironman, right? I mean, I led a bike ride for 100 miles. So just being out there, here I'm leading Ironman, and all
Yeah.
right, stay under control. And then I had a little sugar meltdown for about 6 miles, and Scott Molina was able to catch up to me. And then I just was always 2 to 4 minutes behind him during the run. And even Kenny Glaw came up and passed me, and then he had a low, and I was able to pass him back. And so that just epic battle where you're constantly on the edge, your skin is tingling because you're just dehydrated, low on sugar, still pushing yourself. It's 90 degrees out. You're trying to stay cool. Your body wants to cramp any minute and you just keep moving forward. Then you got a crowd of 40 or 50,000 people yelling for you in Hawaii
Mhm.
and just reeling you in when you're completely exhausted, waiting for the catchers at the finish line.
There were 40 to 50,000 people in Hawaii in 1988.
Well, I can't say the max number. It felt like 40. It's my Super Bowl, so that's what mine meant. It might have been 10,000. I mean, you had all the volunteers. There's probably 1 to 2,000 volunteers out there to get us all through that race. And very thankful for Hawaii for all the support they did and all the people that put on the race. And then all the people that came to watch us, the spectacle of doing Ironman. And so it was the Super Bowl of triathlons.
When you were leading, was there a camera on you? Was there a moto? Is it like how it is today where we do see all the
It's
motos
the
out there?
helicopters, I
The
remember.
helicopters.
They get you all fired up. The helicopters are on you. You're doing something right. So it's good to have the helicopters with you. And then the motorcycles as well. But I like helicopters can be more motivated than the motorcycles.
That's so cool.
I enjoy the little odd things about a race and having a helicopter motivate you.
What else? What else are the odd things about the race?
Oh, I like the conditions of the ocean in the morning.
Mhm.
I like it to be rough. So the rougher, the more excited I got. And that just gave me a natural adrenaline rush. I mean, there was one time in South Padre Island, we had 3-foot waves, and you were literally spiking through each 3-foot wave, and you couldn't even see the feet of the person in front of you, and hard to find the buoy, and it was really cool challenge. Or Hilton Head, one year they had to shift the race because there's such a river current along the front of the sand that they, instead of going out and doing a triangle, we had to run a mile upstream and then jump in the ocean and swim back, which made for a fast time. But they want to be safe for everyone. So that kind of stuff, or a really hilly course in the bike ride, or really a lot of corners in a course. I think the only thing I didn't like was rain, not because of the rain, because of being so slippery
Mhm.
and you're trying to push the envelope on your bike. And that's the only thing I probably didn't like is rain on the course.
Do you ever remember a race being canceled or the swim being canceled? Did that happen in the 80s and 90s?
Good question. I've never had a full race canceled on me, never got denied. I know it has happened in races. They might have eliminated the swim. No, I think we were able to do all our races. And one year I did 25 races. Uh, and most of the time I did 20 or 22 plus. So I had a pretty good track record of not being canceled or denied.
Distances. That's
A cool
awesome.
one that we did, there's 2 cool races that we did. One, they reversed it. They made the swim last. No, the swim,
Your reverse
it was
triathlon.
run, bike. I think we biked last, so that was really cool. And then
Whoa.
another one, it was called the Grand Prix, but we had to do the course twice. So it was a sprint distance
Okay.
where you might swim 800 yards or 500 yards, bike 13 and run 3, but you had to go through it twice. So that was real exciting. So I did love it when they mixed it up, or when they could mix it up, and they're trying to do that for TV and stuff and make it more exciting.
Mike, Jocelyn and I have in previous episodes chatted about the transition from racing full time to being a retired professional triathlete. Jocelyn had a list of 5 things she thinks professional triathletes can do. And it sounds like you did do a little bit of that even while racing. It sounds like you did some coaching or at least worked at camps. And it also sounds like you worked for your sponsors in a way other than just wearing their product. Is that right?
A little bit of everything, just trying to make that transition happen.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to see if I can make it in the coaching world. I think I enjoyed working with 3 to 5 athletes at one time, but I need to go to more to scale, and I think it would take the fun out of it, upping the scale. I love one-on-one like this, this
Mhm.
conversation, especially for working on a workout or something. So I wasn't really able to get to scale like people like Dave Scott or Mark Allen did. And then I got it invested into a energy bar company and tried to follow that. And that still wasn't paying the bills. Um, I got into real estate. Main thing is to learn about it. Thinking I was going to get into buying rentals and stuff like that. So I wanted the real estate experience, and then
Mhm.
found there was a good income in just being a realtor. And I did that for 22 years. And it kind of felt in the lines of triathlons, you have to get up in the morning and call your own shots. And I really like that in the sport of triathlons, what bike ride, what swim, what run was I going to do today? Um, or and the same thing is, what am I going to do today to be successful in real estate? And real estate also was good because it allowed me to watch my kids grow up. I retired, my kids were 2 years of age and just enjoyed, calling your own hours to either take them for a bike ride or coach something that they were in or help out at school. You didn't miss all that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday of your kids growing up. You got to dabble in that every day. So I really like that aspect about real estate.
Yeah, because that was on my list, the number 2 choice of retired pro triathletes. There seems like there's a lot of pro triathletes that go into real estate, and we're like, "Why is that?"
I think it's the self-employed aspect and freedom of time because we got so used to that being a professional athlete. Am I doing two workouts today or am I doing three workouts today? Or am I taking a rest day? Always calling your shots
Mhm.
to make you successful.
And you made that transition around, I think it would be like 2001, 2002. How did you know
2002.
it was time? How did you know it was time to step away from professional triathlon?
Well, my wife remind me of a great story. I go to races and she'd always ask me, "So what's for first place?" She would only ask, "What is for first place?" So when the question went from what's for first place, she said, how deep do they go? That was a good sign that it might be time to move on in prize money. How deep did they go in prize money? So that was the first. And then recovering, I just couldn't recover at 35, 36, 37. Couldn't do the workout that was needed to be successful as a professional triathlete. And you're just naturally getting slower. And so the combination of the two and starting to get beat up from all your workouts and made me start looking around for the next phase. The weirdest thing was sitting in an office for the first time. Oh my gosh, at the real estate office and looking at four walls. I just look left, look right. All right, here we go. But like another race, just put your head down and give it your best.
Do you feel like the hustle that you learned as a pro triathlete, having so many different sponsors and having to, race 25 times in a season, did that help you when you started your real estate career?
Well, I think you're a high energy person if you choose to do triathlons,
Mhm.
and that high energy is going to help you be successful in anything, depending on what your natural talents are, communicating people, getting really good at being a business person. So finding that natural niche outside of triathlons and then using that high energy to make it work is the combination. And so I do have high energy. It's hard for me to sit. And that's a good thing about being in real estate. You go out and show property, you might walk around or you show 7 houses one day, put up signs, whatever. You're constantly moving, doing something, going somewhere, always moving. And that fit good with my personality. I could not sit at a desk from 9 to 5. It wasn't in the cards. And I learned that at the College of Redwoods. Uh, I just can't sit.
Now, do you still follow triathlon?
Very little. I
Okay.
couldn't tell you who the top uh, professional athlete is. After about 3 or 4 years and all my friends started getting that with that traveling circus I grew up,
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Riccatello was the last one that was following just because he had another couple of successful years after I retired. And, we stay in touch from time to time, or we do camps from time to time early on. And then like high school, you kinda drift away from 90% of the people or 95% of the people that you went to high school with, and the same thing happened in, that traveling circus. We all got into our own niches and started creating our circles within our small area, what happened to be in Arcata, California, or in Colorado.
Yeah, there's a handful of them from your time who, like, work for the Ironman Corporation or are still big into coaching and have stayed in the triathlon sphere, but I hadn't heard about you in a while, and I found you from your real estate website, had your cell phone
All
number
right.
and your
Marketing's
email.
good doing good in real estate.
You're in Humboldt, California, is that right?
Yeah, that's the county that I live in, and I grew up in the town of Arcata, and, I'm 62, so I've been here 62 years, high school and all, and local, college, JC College, and then my real estate career here. It the county's only 120,000 people. Each town there's like 5 towns within 25 miles of each other. They're anywhere from 10,000 up to 25,000 in population. and it was just the right fit for me to enjoy the ocean, the rivers, the mountains, constantly looking for a new road or a new trail to go on and see the world. And there was plenty of that just in Humboldt County or Trinity County, which is an adjacent county to here.
How is the real estate market in your area?
Oh, it's a little bit slower this year because interest rates were so high. Presidential election usually slows things down. Prices are high. People had good interest rates on their property. And so not many people who wanted to upgrade or move kind of just stayed in their environment because they had a 3% interest rate or a 4% interest rate and
Hmm.
didn't want to move into a 6. So things slowed down a little bit this year and property values have dropped a little bit.
Do you feel like your triathlon career and the ups and downs that you can have between different seasons help you weather those ups and downs of a real estate career?
Yeah, I mean, you're always a go-getter, and so if things are hard, you just try a little bit harder or a different direction, and the same with a bike ride or a run. If it's raining in a bike ride, you just buckle down and get that last 20 miles on a 100-mile bike ride done. No different than, not making a sale for a month. You just keep showing up, keep shaking hands, going to different meetings, and wait for change. Also, Ty, we weren't getting paid like professional, baseball, basketball, and football players. So you learn how to conserve. You don't go out there and buy a Mercedes or something when you couldn't afford it. Uh, so being a poor triathlete definitely make you handle the harder times in real estate, especially when you're getting into being a realtor.
Yes. One more realtor question
All
before we
right.
let you go. Realtor versus realtor. Is this like triathlon versus triathlon?
How you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I'm the worst at pronouncing things in life, so I don't put too much thought into it. I just say whatever comes out my mouth. So I don't know, realtor or realtor. I don't know which one I use. It's like I get breakfast messed up, and people like the way I say breakfast around here. No, I don't put too much thought into that. Triathlete or what's the other part? Triathlete or
Some
triathlon?
people say triathlete and then,
I
you gotta
never
correct
put the
them.
athlete in
Yeah,
there. It's
yeah, exactly. So there with
too
triathlete and
short.
triathlete, there is a correct way, but doesn't sound like it for realtor.
Good question.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today, for letting us be a little bit nostalgic about the true rise of triathlon during the 80s and 90s, and specifically Ironman, sharing your stories and also helping us answer that question of why so many retired professional triathletes become realtors. It does sound like there are a lot of skill overlap between the two careers.
There is, not that I knew it. I got into it because I wanted to be a property manager of rentals that I was gonna buy, and before you know it, I feel like I'm a triathlete again, being a realtor out there.
He's like the OG.
Yeah.
You paved the way for so many of us.
I really appreciate you guys calling me out. It's fun to reminisce a little bit, keep that memory going, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Ainsley.
I have my daughter here because this is unhinged and chaotic.
I'm so glad Ainsley has joined us for this outro. Jocelyn, I'm so glad Mike Pigg could come help us solve this mystery of why retired professional triathletes make such good realtors. I took a few notes while he was talking, and it seems like they are usually high energy, they are resilient, they like to call their own shots and make their own schedule. Did I miss anything? What else makes a professional triathlete such a good realtor?
I did like what he was saying about being able to make your own schedule because you're kind of used to being your own boss. So
Right.
it was like the anti 9 to 5 job.
Right. It makes sense because professional triathlete is also not really a 9 to 5 job. I feel like it's a 24/7 job, and a lot of the biggest things happen on weekends. But if you were to make a real estate purchase in the near future, would you seek out a professional triathlete as your realtor?
Yes, especially if I was buying a property in Humboldt County, I would reach out to Mike Pigg. He's awesome.
I think that's a Great endorsement. We are excited to follow Mike as he, as a 62-year-old, continues to race. And he mentioned that Clam Beach Run happening February 7th, and we'll be sure to keep our listeners up to date with how he does in that race. And if anyone is in the area or also racing, throw him some thanks for being on the show.
So I do like that he humored me on the Realtor versus Realtor. There was a show called Santa Clarita Diet with Drew Barrymore where her and her husband were realtors, but they pronounced it realtors. And another competing couple kept going like, it's realtors. And they're like, yeah,
I'm
realtors. That's what we said, realtors.
Realtor.
I am so glad he cleared that up for us. Jocelyn, I hope you have a wonderful New Year's, and thank you again for helping me launch this show. I will talk to you in 2026.